Hello Answerly viewers! This week we're still talking about Fangirl and we are going to do our viewer comment response. So if you've left comments on this video series, thank you. I love the interaction with you guys. And I love knowing that there are people out there reading these books with me because it just makes it more fun. So I picked a couple of my favorite comments from the last video that I made once we'd all finished reading the book, and now we're going to talk about them. So our first comment is from Frankie Pandar. They go on to talk about a lot of the things that I was talking about in my last video about Kath's selfishness and how it kind of didn't make her so relatable all the time. But the part of this comment that really stood out to me that I wanted to talk about was when they said, I worry that the message of Fangirl is that change is always bad and you should never do anything outside your comfort zone. I worried about this as well. Kath really doesn't want to change. She really doesn't like change. She really has to be pulled in the direction of change by someone else. I do think that there were elements of this book that showed that those types of changes were good for Kath ultimately, and I think as the reader, I think you're pretty aware that Kath's being unreasonable and Kath's missing out on things, that her relationship with her sister is suffering because she's not, I mean, I guess like it was Ren too being selfish as well and wanting to have new experiences and sort of leaving Kath behind, but I think if Kath had been more open to trying new stuff, maybe that wedge wouldn't have been driven quite as deep. I also think that Kath would have been totally fine just ignoring Reagan all year, and so when Reagan finally put a stop to it and started their friendship, that turned into something good for Kath, and I think she realized that, at least to an extent. It didn't really make her want to try other new things so much, but I think that the book does a good job of not making you want to be Kath. I think Kath doesn't seem like the type of character that you just want to jump into her shoes and live her life because she's got a lot of issues going on. So I don't worry that the book is telling people that change is bad. I just worry that Kath didn't end the book realizing that it's because of the changes that she allowed into her life that good things happened to her. I'm just gonna read this whole comment because I really liked it. It's from Maggie Needham. The scene where they pick up the 8th book was the only time I truly identified with Kath as a fan. During the months leading up to the last Simon Snow book, she only cared about her fan fiction, and I didn't feel any excitement from her about the last book coming out until they were in the bookstore and she was hugging Ren. Fanfiction wasn't a huge part of Maggie's Potter experience, but it seems like the only thing important to Kath. Where was the theorizing, the podcast, the internet friends, the thrill of finally getting all the answers to what happens at the end of the story? Maggie said that this just didn't make sense to her, and I honestly hadn't thought about that much, and I'm shocked that it didn't. It kind of felt like Simon Snow was something she only shared with her sister, that her and Ren wrote this fan fiction and they just sort of put it out there, and that was it. And then people started reading it, and that was cool that she had this viewer base, but it seems like Kath hadn't really connected with other fans online. There's no law saying that you can't write your fan fiction in a vacuum and just put it out there and then never interact with anyone else doing that. It just seems unlikely. I mean, I know that Kath is sort of a loner, but the thing is that I went through a phase of not hanging out with people in real life that much because of fan fiction, but it was also because I was making friends online and I was really heavily involved with this forum that I knew all these people on, and that I was in these Skype, I guess not Skype back in the day, but like Yahoo Messenger chats. I had this sort of like blossoming social life on the internet, which is what kept me from having as big of a social life in my real life. And it is very strange that Kath didn't at least know any other fanfic authors or even like spend any of her time just talking about Simon Snow, like what was gonna happen and stuff. The lead up to the book coming out for her was 100% about finishing her fanfic, and I think that was another sort of interesting quality about Kath, is that she was so like hell-bent on getting that finished that she didn't even consider that there was something more to the experience. And so when she does ultimately decide not to race to finish her fanfic in time, that is sort of a growing time for her. Yeah, it's just a really good comment, Maggie, that I don't know if maybe Kath was just a very different type of fan than a lot of us were and are, or if that's just another interesting character trait that Rainbow Rowell decided for Kath, that she doesn't actually participate. I found it very strange that all of the time that Kath is not like living college life, it's not because she's hanging out online with Simon Snow fans. It's because she was actually hunched over her laptop writing constantly. that was strange to me. I wrote a lot of fanfics, and I wrote a lot of long fanfics, and I never just spent hours at night, like, you know, you would do it amongst other things. I don't know. Yeah. Really good comment. The last comment that I want to talk about is from Emily Hornberg, who said that Rainbow Rowell wrote Fangirl for NaNoWriMo. I didn't know that, actually, and it's awesome. I actually really love finding out that there are a number of published novels, especially even ones that are doing well like this one, that were written initially in a month. That's really exciting to me, and it's very inspiring to me, because I know there are people out there that sort of write National Novel Writing Month off as this waste of time, or like, I don't know, that you're never gonna write something good enough in that time. And I'm a firm believer of the opposite, that like getting that first draft down, it doesn't even matter how good or bad it is, because you have all the time in the world afterward to turn it into something as great as Fangirl. So I'm really glad to know that, and I hope that inspires any of you aspiring authors out there to give NaNoWriMo a try, because maybe you'll end up writing a book as good as this one. That's it for the comment response. If you want to be featured in one of these videos, be sure to leave lots of comments on future book discussion videos. I'll be back next week with my official full review of the story, and that's it. See you guys later.